Good morning, good afternoon, good night, and welcome back to another episode of the Heart to Heart podcast. As always, I'm your pasty ass host, Gregory Hart, and on this week's episode, we're talking with the third comedian in a row. We're going to hear about the ups, the downs, the ins, and the outs, the diving headfirst into such a crazy career choice, and find out how he did it, moving from Canada to LA. But before we dive into that, there's three questions I have. Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Click the subscribe button and the bell on YouTube. All those things help. For all comedic and episode releases, please check out the Instagram at Heart2Heart Podcast and www.h2hstudio.ca. Before we jump in, I want to give a brief explanation to who our guest is today. It feels like the guy's been on every streaming platform known to man. He's on a Netflix show called Comedians of the World. He has a comedy special on Crave called I Love You Habibi. He is on a TV show on Hulu called RAMY. And he just released a new podcast with Paul Alia called Low Key Immigrants. I'm extremely excited to talk to him today. Please help me introduce DaveMerheje.
Thank you for having me, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, buddy. I really appreciate it. I honestly started to see your stuff more and more and more and more. The more comedians I talked to, the more comedians I interviewed, the more I started to see that stuff on my social media. And I gotta say, man, you're funny as hell.
Thank you. I'm very glad. It would have been a different conversation if I wasn't.
Hey, dude, I don't know how you got all this shit, but but you're
It could have
figuring
been
it
not a
out.
conversation, to be honest with you.
Oh man, I want to start from the beginning. Like
Yeah.
on your profile, it shows you Canada to LA. You're born and raised in Canada then?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Windsor, Ontario.
Oh, okay, wow, all
So,
right.
yeah, on the border of Detroit. I don't
Yep.
know. You always got to kind of say that, I guess. If you're talking, maybe, I mean, I always have to say that because I don't think anyone in America knows where it is. So I always go, it's the border of Detroit. And then I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
sometimes people are lying. They're like, oh, yeah, yeah, I know where it is.
No, like I do a lot of work in Sarnia and Windsor and Chatham, Kent, and all that stuff. So I know the area for sure.
Okay. So I was there till maybe till I was 24. Like I graduated from college, from St. Clair College, and then I spent a year working, and then I moved to Toronto. So I spent a
Okay.
latter of most of my time doing stand-up and acting was in Toronto, which is about maybe 14, 15 years. And then I
Yeah.
moved to America, specifically at LA in 2016 for about a year, then lived in New York, and then I left during the pandemic to LA. So I've been in LA maybe 2 years now, over 2 years.
That's incredible, dude. That's a big jump. I've thought about it
Yeah,
many times, like especially when you go from Windsor to Toronto, that's already a big
huge jump.
jump into what's available for you for what you're trying to do with your life. But what was the jump like from Toronto to LA?
Tough because it's like, I had to get a green card, which to get a green card, you gotta collect, well, not collect, but you gotta get all these credits and you have to do all this stuff in Canada to prove to America that you're an extraordinary talent, I believe, in your country and that, you can move to. So you build all these like credits or you build a certain level in Canada, then I had to leave, specifically Toronto. I love Toronto so much. All my main friends are there. People I've been friends with for so many years, man. I came up with them. So it was just that adjustment of starting over basically in LA that was very, very tough. Like friendship wise, financially, acting, comedic and
For
stuff.
sure.
So it was very tough.
Now, how are you seeing the like the sorry, I don't even know why I'm blanking on the word here, but the opportunity in LA, are you seeing a significant amount more of that there than you did see in Toronto?
I mean, yeah, like I mean, in a sense that, I was able to get an American sitcom I'm
True.
moving to America. So it's different in a sense. I think there's obviously more reach, more networks. Do you know what I mean? More
Yeah, yeah.
clubs.
Yeah, yeah.
It just has these opportunities that you can take advantage of, and there's a lot more. So yeah, I did, obviously benefit off that. But I love Canada, you know what I mean? Like in a sense, just even the entertainment business there. I'd like to develop a TV show there and really like, give it a go.
Dude, like it feels like just from like I've literally done one stand-up comedy open mic. Like I don't know shit yet. I'm just starting out. But it's awesome to talk to people like you that have done it and taken the leap and like are being successful and doing all the things. Like it always feels like there's no book that says you need to do this, then you'll get a Netflix special, and then your podcast will take off. Like there is no book for all this shit. But I know like being in Canada, like I've lived in small towns my whole life. Now I'm just outside of Kitchener, but you don't feel like from everything you see on social media that you can do any of this stuff here. You always feel like you have to go somewhere else, whether or not now it's Austin, Texas, or LA, or somewhere in the States. It always feels like you gotta leave, but it seems like you made quite a decent run of it in Toronto. Like, you think that you should become successful here before leaping to somewhere else, like in the States?
I mean, I wouldn't really tell anyone kind of, what to specifically do. Like if you feel like leaving and if that's in your heart to America, then so be it. It helped me to like at least develop some stuff in first, it helped me develop my style and my comedic chops in Canada so that when I, came to America, I just knew I knew who I was on stage, so that was a
For
lot
sure.
easier. I really had to. I'm growing now because obviously you evolve as a person, but I had the bearings down, so that helped. And then it helped also to have like a base in Canada that you can go back and make money and work. So developing that over the years helped so much, so that I can afford to live here basically at certain times.
For sure. Like and what is it like growing up with like obviously like based on your jokes, you're part of like an immigrant family, people that moved to Canada. How did that go in your household? Like I know you talk about it a bit on stage, but what was it like trying to tell them that you're going to move to the States to pursue this even more?
I mean, my family's super, super cool about that in a sense that they've always been supportive. Like my mom was like, I want you to do what you love, but like just get me an education. My
Yeah,
dad's
yeah.
super supportive, my siblings. So me moving any kind of decision I wanted to do for comedy and acting, they were always supportive, which I guess in middle, just some of the Middle Eastern people I know that are in the entertainment business, it's not always like that. I mean, I was just very blessed with family that was supportive from day one.
That's nice, man. That makes everything go a long way. I told my sister that I might want to move to Austin, Texas to pursue podcasting, and she laughed at me.
I mean, yeah, I got some of that stuff too. I mean, it's just a crazy thing that we're doing. You're not following any type of formula, like you said. There's really no book or no guidance in like how you're going to get these things. There's guidance in how you can develop a joke or something like that, but there's no really path. The path's different for everyone. It's not
For
like
sure.
you go to school, sorry, you have the curriculum and then you get out and then you have a job, hopefully, but like
Yeah.
stand it's like a lot of ups and downs. So it's just building a different, you got to really dig deep, I think, within yourself to have patience and tenacity. I think that's what it comes down to is a lot of it is drive.
No, it's yeah, 100%. It's very well put. It's a very weird industry to be
Yeah.
in anything related to making people laugh or be on TV or anything to do with the celebrity type career. But where did this all start for you? Like obviously comedy started somewhere for you. Was it someone in your family that got you into it? I know that sometimes people go through some crazy, terrible life experience and they just happen to be this outspoken, aggressive person. But where did you start? Where did this first open mic start, or the balls to stand out in front of people and try and make them laugh?
I mean, I don't when I just loved when I was like younger, like entertainment. I didn't even really know about stand. It wasn't stand up. I just wanted to be an entertainer, kind of. I just was like really enamored with award shows, like the Blockbuster Awards, even
Yeah.
and yeah, all the movie awards.
Yeah, the Emmys and the Oscars and
Yeah, we used to watch Soul Train. I loved
yeah.
wrestling. I loved like, talk shows, and I would do like act outs and scenes with my sister and my cousin. So yeah, I was always, and then when I was 14, I think when I was 14, I saw a Richard Pryor special, like part of it, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. And then that's where the stand-up bug got in. And then yeah, I went really from there, but I always wanted to do stand up to become an actor as well. So it was like it was more the entertainment thing that really drew to me. And my family's funny, just funny people. Like, what I mean? None of them really necessarily had the want to be stand-ups or actors and stuff from
Yeah.
what I know. We're always joking, in the house. So I think it it's funny. I was in Lebanon for the first time, and I went to my mom's village, and randomly met my mom's or my grandmother's cousin, and this guy was doing jokes the whole time, and like these little yeah, it's just like our whole family kind of has like it's just that humor in them. So I was the one that took it to this kind of like level.
Level for sure. How old were you when you started? Like, how many years have you been doing stand-up comedy specifically?
A lot. I mean, I did my first open mic, or it wasn't even an open mic, it was a competition at the Yuck Yucks in Windsor. It was they were looking for the best new comic across Canada. And they came to do auditions in Windsor. I did it. I didn't do well. I'm pretty sure that was my first set. I think it was 19 or 20. I'm pretty sure it was 19.
You went did your first open mic as a best new talent in Canada competition. That's so
I
badass.
they, I mean, there was no spots for me to perform, I think, right? There was no open mics. They started an open mic at Yuck Yucks, I think, after that. It wasn't even an open mic. They did Battle of the Bands and they had comics beforehand, like amateur comics. Or they would
Damn.
have the Yucks headliner would stay over sometimes to the Sunday. And then the band stuff stopped, and then it turned into a pure open mic for comics. But then there wasn't really much, man. I was crossing over to Detroit. I wasn't getting paid to do open mics. There wasn't any real comedy scene in Windsor at the time. You know, there was stuff we put on, but there was really no place you can go. Like, that's why I moved to Toronto, where I can jump on open mics all throughout the week.
Where during this process of doing the open mics and busting, doing that and trying to like focus on material, figure out how to even create a solid set, did something happen that made you realize that this could be something you did as a career?
Man, I was just delusional. I didn't want to do anything else.
Oh
Like
yeah.
there's nothing else that I really cared for. Like I went to school for my mom. There was nothing else but comedy and acting. Like I don't even picture myself doing anything else in life. Like even
Yeah.
at that time, I was just like, nothing really excites me or motivates me like this kind of, and it just felt like such a home. Like, even the comics, like, you know what I'm saying? Like even riffing with comedians and just sitting with comedians is such a peaceful place for me to be mentally, and it's just like family. It's funny how it's like if I'm describing people, I mean like, I was with some comedians and then normal people,
Yeah, no,
like civilians. I was like,
bro. I,
like,
I, oh man, I've always been like the person that always says outrageous shit and makes you uncomfortable, or is the person who draws and pushes the line in front of friends, and it's always what makes them laugh is the fact that I push it too far in
yeah,
front of people that are new to the group, and they're kind of like waiting to see how this person takes it. But I literally did one open mic night, and they had like a fake, like a mini green room. It was just like this room that all the open micers and some people have done it like 5, 10 times. Were in this room together, and it just I know that feeling in a very small scale, but you sat there and people were saying the most outrageous shit, knowing that everyone was laughing and we all had this sense of you're not being judged here. Say whatever comes to your mind. Let's see if it's funny, kind of thing.
yeah, there is that energy, and yeah, and it's also just like they understand you. It's just you're with a group of people that understand the struggle. They understand, they've probably shared the same happiness and sadness as you. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
not, they understand the field that you're in. So I don't know. I've always wanted to do this, man, to be honest with you. I think there was to build an act though, I didn't really learn how, like I didn't know anything, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. I would do like a guest spot at Yuck Yucks in Windsor, and I thought you can just become famous. Like I had no recollection, and then I remember the manager at the time. I think his name was Steve. He like didn't let me do a guest spot, and he brought me into his office, and he's like, "You're not even taking this seriously. You're not even watching headliners when they come in. People are going past you, and I really think that you should really take this seriously." And then I started to. So there was no real like I didn't have any kind of like, guidance. I was kind of like in my head thought something different. And then I moved to Toronto and I really, really started to go out every night, like to the point where it'd be like maybe 2 to 3 times a night for like 4 years or something like that. And I continue to do that as well. But I was going, with a group of other comics to really just find my voice. You know what I mean? Not necessarily to build any kind of like hour or anything. I was like, let me just find out who I am on stage. And then that was like going out every night.
Do you feel like like I'm a big fan of Tom Segura. He's the type of comedy that I really like. I love the like push the line type act and the storytelling. is there like, I felt like when I went on stage, obviously it's only been one time, so it's hard to reference anything, but I always felt like I was pulling his type of execution of jokes. I was pulling from him, maybe a little
Yeah.
bit of Norm Macdonald, like that style of comedy. Do you feel like you did that at the beginning too? Like when you say about finding your voice, I hear it
Yeah.
so much where like eventually you'll start hitting your own wavelength. So you'll start saying stuff the way you say stuff.
Yeah.
And like, do you remember if you like mimicked any comics? Maybe not
100%.
jokes, but
100, Richard Pryor.
oh, for sure. Nice.
I was like, I just wanted to, yeah, I was not who I was back then. And then it just kind of evolved. But I mean, what I loved about Richard was that his vulnerability on stage. To me, that was the most interesting part about his stand-up or even stand-up is like, I don't push boundaries. I don't really I'd not even say cross the line. It's just, I just kind of wanted to do comedy from a place of vulnerability, my own vulnerability.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, oh, because I found that's how, there'll be a point where I would put Richard Pryor jokes on just if I felt sad, like I wasn't even laughing anymore. It was like almost like I was listening to Richard Pryor, how I would listen to an album, a music album, like of a musician. So it's like I always wanted to kind of find a way to do that for somebody who's going to listen to me. So I was really interested in vulnerability and exposing my own self and like my own anxieties, my own depression, my own problems and issues. I'm not like as much as an observer of like what's happening in society at this point. It's more of like, well, I feel this way about this situation. How do I get this out there? Yeah, I'm from my like emotion.
You put it in a like it's relatable in a weird in a really trippy way. Like when it comes to like podcasting, I love it so much. I love talking to different people and getting to know them and experience what they're or try and experience or understand what they went through to become where they are right now. And I get that feeling in your head where you're just like you feel like you need to be more or do more, or you're not going fast enough, or you're not doing stuff right, or you should be changing up the way you do things. So I get where you're trying to find that voice and deal with it
Yeah.
was truly like a weird stress relieving experience to do my first open mic set. Like a weird, like so fucking nervous for 5 days, didn't like sleep super well, like was so like anxious about it. And then the day of was just like calm as a rock, just like excited at
Yeah.
this point. Nothing's gonna fucking change. I've already signed up for this. I'm not bailing and ruining one of the only close clubs that actually does open mics. And it was just like that feeling of getting up there, and it was just like so addicting.
Yeah, it does have an addictive. I mean, it is addictive. Like I don't even the points of like where I get tired of going up or wanting to go on stage. I always find my way back. It's just like I feel very at peace up there. I feel like the most confident I can be is up there. And I feel just really extremely happy up there. Probably the happiest, I would say, what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's just such a thrill, and then you hearing those laughs, it's just something I can't, I mean, you did it, like it's something I just really can't put into proper words to explain to someone who doesn't do stand-up, like that feeling.
And like you're like when you feel laughs, and in my head I'm like, don't worry, I got a few laughs, like don't worry, like I've got a few good ones. But like I sat there and watched other people like go through the bombing process of having no one laugh and be uncomfortable, and it was like, am I prepared? Because I'm gonna go through it, like there's no way in hell, like I'm gonna go
Still go
through,
through it.
for sure I'm gonna go through it. But it was just like that one like big laugh I got with like an ending joke that I was like super excited to tell, that one fucking hit. And it was just like it's like playing, like it's so stupid, but it's like playing golf. I play golf a lot and I suck ass. And it's like I play 17 holes shanking the ball and playing like complete trash. But if I have that one hole where I'm on it and I'm like, I'm coming back next week. Like this feeling is so addicting to have. But I've heard you say quite a few times so far on the podcast, you talk about comedy and acting. Like that was your biggest push.
Yeah.
If you had a like gun to your head right now, you had to choose one of them, the other one's gone. Which one are you choosing?
I mean, these gun questions are always tough, you know what I mean, whether it's like which friend you want to keep alive or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which, right, it's oh man, that's a tough one, bro. I wish I had like
And I know
I
they go hand in hand.
they
Like
go hand in hand,
your
right? I
your
mean,
your your acting will have a lot of comedy in it, and comedy itself, like doing a stand-up skit has a lot of acting in it. Like you're acting it out and making people invested in the story. So I get where they both overlap, but I just didn't know if one of them was initially your bigger plan than the other.
I mean, acting was the the end plan, and I don't say end, I mean like I like use not I'm using is such a bad word for it, but like having stand up to guide me or to get me into acting was my whole goal.
Yeah, yeah.
And still maintaining doing stand up obviously on a regular basis, but I was like I would really like to act in movie. Like how I visioned this was at the near the, you know, as I moved along in my career, I would like to be steadily acting in movies, whether it's drama or comedies. That's what I want to that's was my main one of my main goals, and continue to do stand up and touring and specials and all that, but acting was a big push for me.
It's honestly like it's weird when you see like someone like an all-star like Kevin Hart or Dave Chappelle or Eddie Murphy or all these guys, and you see them do like all of a sudden, like it felt like with Kevin Hart at least, because he's the one that closest them. Like I was at the age where I was watching stand-up comedy and he just went off like a rocket. It
Yeah.
just seeing them go from like stand-up special, stand-up special, stand-up special, stand-up special, then they're in every fucking movie known to man. It's like, okay, this must be like the process of doing this. Like this isn't normal. Like this isn't what every person's going to do. There is thousands and thousands of comedians that are busting their ass every day that never get to see the light a day. Like don't see anything past doing just like talent nights and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's a fucking weird industry, dude. And there's no way to
Oh,
explain it, and it's hard to explain it from being such a rookie. But
yeah.
even just seeing other stand-ups and going to a ton of stand-up shows, like it's a fucking grind.
It's man, you really got to be like half crazy. I think you got to be half crazy. You got to have a
Yeah,
little
such a
delusion, and you have to just really, really love it. That's what I ask anyone who asks me. Like if someone asks me like when you start making money or should I do stand up, I always go, man, you gotta love the fuck out of this. Like you have to
don't even
like
think about money right now.
yeah, you gotta
Like,
love it. Like either there can't be a thing where you're like, I kind of like it or I like it. It's like you have to, I feel, love it to the bones, man. So that
man,
you can put up with all this shit.
and that's what you hear like every comedian that I listen to and I've heard of podcasts and all that stuff from, it's like 10 years, like 10 years you're busting your ass before it's even like feasible to, like if you hit and if you're funny enough or good enough, before it even seems feasible to do it and not have any other job or type of
Yeah,
income.
exactly. You're right. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes it's not for people, they could do 2 years. It really depends. But I think a majority of people I ever talked to in that space has been 10. I know for me, it's been 10 plus years. It was, I'm pretty sure it was 10 plus years.
What was your first break? Like what was your first like either special or just for laughs or like competition? Like do you remember what
Oh,
really
yeah.
like
I mean, it's one of the only, it's like one of the memories. It's one of the memories that'll never leave me because it was the first time I felt like, fuck, I made a little bit of a step in somewhere. It was 2011, Just for Laughs' homegrown competition. And at the time, they would go around finding like the top 8 or whatever in that country. And it was a thing I'll never ever forget because it opened up some
shit?
doors for me in a Canada, specifically in Canada. Like I was able to, I think people saw me now in a light that they could, I was very like I could be booked. I got an American agent that, like, you know, I think 2 weeks after because they had seen me there. So it really kind of like it also got me in with the festival where I was able to build this long relationship that I have with them now, where I've been back multiple times and done multiple things there.
Unreal.
Filmed the special with Crave with them as well. So in Montreal, and it was just like it's been and then this past summer I did 29 shows there. It was like one of the most beautiful experiences I had. So I that was the first time I it was like a legitimate break for myself.
So was this like a competition? You said you were got picked from the top 8 in Canada. Was that just
Yeah,
being is a comp?
it's a competition. I think I finished first. I won that year. Sorry, I won the homegrown that year, and
Shit.
Mark DeBonis finished second, who's a very, very funny comedian from Toronto. And I don't, they stopped doing it now. I think it's called New Faces, but at one point they stopped it as a competition as well, and it become like a taping. But I mean, for many, many years, it was a competition, basically.
Now with winning that, did you ever have like imposter syndrome? Like, did you ever have it where you thought like, I don't know, like I'm doing these things, I'm getting better, or I'm succeeding in these ways, but like, have I earned this? Like, I talked to another comedian. His name is Big Norm
No,
Alkinsell, and
big.
yeah, yeah, it's dope. So he was talking about like how he had it. Like at the beginning, he was like, "Is it because like I'm from the Philippines or I'm ethnic or like I'm not a fucking white male fucking comedian? Like, is that why they're pulling me to do this shit?" Did you ever have imposter syndrome?
100%. I think as an ethnic person, you're gonna. I think. I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I mean, you do feel like, well, fuck. do they want me? Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
a lot of times they do book us in that sense. They book like, I need one ethnic person. I've had someone tell me that multiple times. I need one ethnic person. So you do feel they don't do that to white comics at all. I don't hear white comics go, they told me they needed one Gary. Like, you know what I mean? So you do feel that. And then a lot of it too, I feel it and just in general, where you're like, that doesn't really go away. For me, at least it hasn't gone away. Even in a sense of like, I could being on a TV show, at some points I'm like, am I supposed to be here? Like, did they pick, like, you know what I mean? So I don't think for me personally, it's gone lesser, to be honest with you, but I mean, it's still there.
Damn. Have you ever had that like where like at a club or anything you have like anything to do with race that like has gone the wrong way for you?
Oh yeah, yeah. Where was it recently?
Recently.
Yeah, where was it? I mean, that wasn't me. I saw it. Mine happened in Kingston like multiple years ago, where I was not doing, I wasn't
Kingston.
getting a response from the audience, and the guy goes, "When's the last time you detonated, or when's the first time you ever detonated a bomb?" He was like in the front row. Um, he was going through. I think, I mean, it doesn't make an excuse
So
for his behavior,
stereotypical
but
bullshit.
he'd lost his family. Like, he's an older gentleman, like a father. I think something tragic happened. I'm trying to think of some. I saw it happen on the Rick Mercer tour that I was on, like to another comedian who's Muslim. I saw it happen like in Toronto of all places, which is like yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter, but I mean, we were like, what the? Because we went all across Canada, man. We went all across Canada, like these beautiful places. And the first time there was racism was in Toronto. We were like, you know what I mean? We went to Calgary, and now it just sounds like I'm going to name places that I think would be racist. Well, Calgary,
If
and
they wear a big ass hat and boots, they fucking
yeah,
racist, man.
Calgary, Edmonton. We were in like, I mean, the East Coast is so beautiful. Like East
Oh yeah.
Coast, like how they welcome you is amazing. So yeah, it still happens. It's unfortunate, and it's just like, I think everyone's in pain. You know what I'm saying? Again, it doesn't excuse what they do, but I think there's a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, and I just hope we can find a better way to talk to each other. It doesn't seem hard, but I mean, it's just a better way we could talk to each other and welcome each other into each other's spaces.
Bro, it's fucking angering as hell. It's
Yeah.
very, very big of you to explain it that way. Like people are hurt and they're just dealing with their own shit. But it's like, dude, I've been in this country as long as you have. What the fuck are you talking about? I
I
speak
was
better
born here.
English than you dumb bastard. No, I know that. That's what I
Yeah.
mean. Like
No, but I mean, to them, I'm always
fucking
like, yo,
people.
I went to Lebanon for the first time, like, and when I was like in June, when I was 42. Canada is my country. I was born in this country. I love Canada. I say I'm Canadian because I am, and I have a background. I'm Canadian Lebanese, but I am Canadian. I was born here. I was raised here. This is my country, and I think it's a beautiful country. So you can't
What
take that away
is
from me.
it with people that aren't as pasty as me? Like Big Norm is 39. I'm like, bro, you look 26. Like you look younger than I do. And you're 42?
Yeah. I mean, it's
Bro.
probably I mean, recently I stopped eating meat. I don't know if that's helping, and I use a lot of creams.
Dude, I'm gonna look like a Buick seat when I'm 42. Like this
I know
pasty ass is gonna look like shit.
I've seen
But
some beautiful seats in my days, but
dude, you brought up the Rick Mercer show. How was
yeah.
that? Like, did you get to meet him and chat with him? Like, where were you at in your career when that happened?
Oh,
That's
so
recent,
Rick,
isn't it?
yeah, I met Rick actually when we recorded this thing. It's out right now on CBC. It's the Rick Mercer, like he did like a thing where he hosts and brings on comedians. It's televised. It's on CBC.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like airing
Comedy
right
night with
now
Rick Mercer. Yeah.
as we speak. So at that time I met him for the first time. This was like at the height of the pandemic in Burlington where we recorded, and then I did a sit down interview with him. He was very sweet, and then he did his tour. He's done his tour the last 2 years where he brings comics with him and he like hosts it. And he, we're
So dope.
obviously they're there to see Rick. So we went across Canada, and so I was with him. It was me, Ivan Decker, and Iman El Husseini, and Rick. We were together for a whole month touring across Canada. So we all became like, like a family basically. And he's such a sweetheart. He's super funny on and off stage. And he's just fun, man. He's got like a plethora of stories, his wisdom. I think I'll never forget it. And I'm so glad I was able to be a part of it. I still, till this day, I miss it too, because we were just traveling all over, man. And he's from Newfoundland, and St. John's, I believe. I could be wrong. Like, I don't know if he's from there specifically. But I mean, we went there and that was my first time for 2 days. We did shows and I love that place. And he took us around and it was so beautiful. I can't wait to go back.
Dude, with the Rick Mercer report and the amount that guy's been around, like I can't imagine some of the stories that guy's got to tell.
Very, very like, and he's just a constant professional and he's really good up there. He just knows how to work a crowd.
And that show, like Comedy Night with Rick Mercer, is that all Canadian comics?
I mean, he fought for that. That's how dope he is. If you read they did an interview on him. I didn't even know that. Just for Laughs was like gave him American comics, and he said no. And he brought so it was he's the reason we were able to go because he kept it Canadian. I think there should be more artists like that in Canada that keep it Canadian in a sense because we kind of get pushed aside for American talent, and I think we're better or just as good or better than them. I stand by that because yeah, and we as Canadians get excited for American products since day one, whether it's comedy or whatever. So it's hard for us to be like, it's like when someone goes, "Oh, there's comedy albums in Canada by Canadian artists." I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening. There's a lot of like, and to be honest with you, TV has grown in the last, I'd say 5 years with Schitt's Creek winning Emmys and shit. It's really opened up the doors for a lot of other, and then people are now trying to make shows. America's seeing it too. Like you got Schitt's Creek, you have Letterkenny, you have all these shows in the last like I'd say even 7 years that are just made an impact that's probably going to help us and younger comics actors for the future to have like a much more bigger market here.
Dude, I gotta tell you right now, like it feels really good. It's gotta feel amazing to be recognized by Rick as like being one of the Canadian comics, a part of that show. But it's guys that get that big. Like same with like Russell Peters and people like that. Like they gotta like try and promote Canadian comedy. Like there's so much of it to go around here. There's so many people that could be good like could fucking crush in America, but don't ever go do like the green card or it's too much work to try and go on to the US or don't get noticed here. But it's gotta grow. Like there's so much talent here. Like you said, like Letterkenny and Schitt's Creek was huge, but just shit like that, like it takes that for us to realize that there's equal talent here. Like people in the States think we're Antarctica. Like
yeah, they have no, and that's my one of my top priority goals is to make a TV show in Canada, so I can work with my friends and I can work with writers that are like I just really want to do that, and that's a thing that I'm going to push for.
Cool. Like I'll be the janitor in the background mopping and
we got you.
Sick. Yeah, make sure the lights aren't on too bright. You might get a little bit of backflash on that shit. Do you have a favorite comedian? Like you're talking about how you got some you used to like I can't remember the comedian now.
Pryor?
Yes. Is that your number one go-to guy? Is that why you took from him?
Yeah, Richard Pryor, I would say like Nathan McIntosh, who's from Halifax but lives in New York for the last I think decade. He's a regular at the Cellar. He's been on all the late. I think he's been on Conan. Not Colbert. He's done a late spot there, and I think one more. I think he might have done Fallon. I think he's done all of them. But he's a Nathan McIntosh. If you go to his IG, you'll see all his videos, and you can even stream his stuff on Apple, like his comedy albums. Graham K, the Canadian who lives in New York, who also has a Crave special that they shot years ago. And yeah, you got so many. Chris Law, Chris Robinson. These are all people I really enjoy. Sarah Hennessy, Sandra Battellini. These are Arthur Simeon, Patrick Akeem. These are all like the majority of them Toronto, but I mean these are like heavyweights. You know what I'm saying? Like like that people that are like not with Big Norm, but like in that are in the city, like Keith Pedro, these Nick Reynoldson. These are, if you even look up, you should support comedy records that why am I saying it wrong? Comedy Record. It's a label that like has comedians on it. So if you go to their on their website, they're always putting out albums. And Barry Taylor is the guy, that's his label, and he's really like pushing out Canadian artists and through like Sirius XM and JFL, and they're putting these albums out. So I think it's, as Canadians, we should really support that.
Bro, it's weird talking to you're 100% right. Yes, definitely should support it. And I'm going to make sure I clip that and I'm gonna
Yeah.
put it out on my IG, just try and push it a little more. But hearing like it feels like the comedy world is so much smaller than it is. Like every
Yeah.
comedian you hear talk, they talk about the Cellar, they talk about the Improv, they talk about the Comedy Store, like they talk about these different spots, whether or not it's Boston, New York, LA, like wherever it is, but it's all these same spots that these guys talk about. Have you done comedy in New York?
Yes, I lived there for 2 years. So I got to do the Cellar because I was opening for Mo Amer, who has a TV show on Netflix. He's a cast member with me on the TV show Rami on Hulu. I've opened for Rami at the Cellar. I've done Caroline's with Mo, and then I've done New York Comedy Club when I lived there, and other like rooms across in New York. So I spent like 2 years there. I wasn't even going to move to LA. I was going to stay there, but COVID pushed me to move to LA. So yeah, I love performing in New York. I'm going next month, and it's just a different type of energy.
That's exactly what I was gonna ask you. Like all
Yeah.
these LA comics, like I listen to like obviously Segura and Rogan and Bert Kreischer and Ari Shafir is obviously in New York, but you hear them talk about like Joey Diaz and all the guys that perform in New York, and they talk about it being such a different vibe or different like cutthroat energy in New York. Do you feel that? Do you like what is the difference between performing in New York and performing in LA?
I'm to be honest with you, I'm not really so enthralled. I haven't really jumped in fully to both. Like I'm not regular anywhere, so I don't know specifically to like they have a better understanding of the energies from both. But from my outside, for the little I've done, I would say like LA, New York is just like it's about stand up. Like they're just doing 6 rooms a night. Like you know what I mean? It's a very like productive, like they're just going like room to room. And it's really about it feels about stand up and developing and killing and getting another hour and like you know what I'm saying? Like they're really in
100%.
in the grind of it. In LA, it's like more like I think people might can hit 3 rooms or 2 nights. It's I don't know a lot of people, there's people that do 3 rooms, but I think you can get up more in New York, I want to say. I mean, it's different if you're like Sebastian Maniscalco, you can go up anywhere kind of thing. But I feel like the energy in New York is just like it's like we're about stand up.
That's so dope. Like I want to go to New York so bad just for that reason. Cause like you
Yeah.
talk about it, like everyone's biggest thing is like I did 7 minutes. But in my mind, after doing that 7 minutes, it was like I want to do the 7 minutes again, like in 5 minutes. Like I want to do it again and again and again and again and start messing around with stuff, throw a different joke in here, throw a different joke in there, reorganize it, see if I can make stuff hit better, try it out. Being able to hit that many rooms in one night, you could blow through material and try different groups of different types of people. Like that sounds so sick. Like it'd be such a great place to go develop an act, like or a special at least.
It is, man. It is a very special place.
Like is that it's a weird way to word it because I know that every place has like their pros and cons, but is New York the comedy city? Like I know that New York has come a long way since COVID. Like COVID fucking
Yeah.
did a lot to that city. But is was that like the be all end all for comedy pre-COVID?
I mean, I don't know necessarily the be all end of it, but that is one of the probably the top comedy cities in the world, I think. Yeah. A lot because everyone really moves there and goes there, right? Like it's a lot of people just go and move there to reach to a high status. So I think New York is one of the top places in the world for sure.
It really puts into perspective the different levels that comedians can get to. Like you're on Netflix, Crave, and Hulu. Like the fuck? And you're talking about like you don't have a constant spot in LA. Like it just feels fucking trippy. It's like, okay, like I don't
Yeah,
know why. Maybe I'd become a dickhead. I'm like, yo, you put me on Netflix. Like, yo, bro, I'm on Netflix. Like, not I wouldn't actually say that shit, but it feels weird. Like there must be so many levels of talent or how far you've
yeah.
made it in your career to have like all that stuff. You're on a TV show and you don't have a permanent spot in LA. It feels fucking weird.
It does feel, I mean, that's like sometimes it just truly works out that way, right? Like I think it's like, but I also don't do a good job myself personally of being there and hanging out and going all the time and putting myself forward because I was traveling a lot. And when I'm like being in LA, I'm always not here. And and I understand from a booker or club's perspective, it's like you're never here. There's other people putting in the work being here. So I do think like it's partially, my fault as well. But I mean, that happens also too. Like everyone's out here and everyone has credits. There's a lot of people on TV shows. A lot of people have their own shows. So it's like you're really battling the top of the top. So that does make sense to me that like, yeah, I'm on a TV show, I have a special, but it's, so it's just it's still a grind, man. It's still a grind.
You always hear people in LA talk about the story and the improv. Have you, or the store and the improv? Have you performed there?
I performed at the Improv. I was just there last week in the lab, and I've done the main stage as well. And then me and Paul, well, it's Paul's show. Paul hosts a show called Low Key Comedy, and I co-host with him. So he has it at the Belly Room in the store. So I've performed at I've done other shows there too in competitions. Or I did the NBC Diversity like in 2011, and it was and I don't know if it's the OR, it's the one on the side. I've done the store and the Improv.
Just because of how many comedians that I follow at LA, like that's like the dream for me. Like that's where I'd be like, okay, I've done well, maybe by the way you're explaining it, maybe those are like big levels to hit as like being invited to come and perform in those rooms. Maybe that's like crazy bigger than I think it is. But like that's such like Andrew Santino, Bobby, like all those guys,
Yeah.
like though that's my shit. Like that's my type of comedy, and like being able to see those guys perform there and perform there. Like I'm coming to LA next year, September 6th, first time in my life, just to come and like try and experience what LA is like. Like I've thought about it a million times, picking up all my shit and moving. So like coming to see that place, like, do you get to interact with those kind of comics? Like, do you see them there all the time? Like wherever you're performing spots, are they popping in and out of there like that?
100%. I think I mean I saw Bobby. Where did I see? I saw him in Montreal when he did the festival. So
Nice.
I met him from time to time. But I've Andrew, he does the low key show. So I've like, I think it was like last year. I think I saw him at the low key show. But at the store, you always see everyone coming in and out for sure, and the
That's
Improv as well.
what a crazy fucking vibe, dude.
Yeah.
To leave the comedy stuff, I started listening to some of your stuff. I saw some of your clips from different different podcasts that you've done, and I gotta address something specifically. Jerking off standing up. Okay. Now hear me out. I'm not against you, I'm with you. Okay. I don't understand. Like this is such a fucking change of speed here. But I saw it late last night. I wrote it down immediately and I was like, okay, I gotta talk to this guy about this because that clip made me realize that I was on the outside of this fucking discussion.
I mean, I don't know who's on the inside or the outside. I remember when we were Paul were recording it. I've done it as a joke, but I forgot what we were talking about, and I said it, and we just kind of all lost it. And the engineer, we were just kind of all like dying. Like it was just such a ridiculous thing, and I didn't know it was super weird. I knew it was weird, but then I remember I tried sitting on a couch and doing it, and I felt uncomfortable. I was like, I don't even want to do this. I think it was a lot
Bro.
of it was I don't know. Part of it was also I didn't want to do the cleanup. I had like OCD, right? So I mean, like the cleanup gave me anxiety. So then if I did it in the toilet, it's like it's free from me. It's like
Dude, it sounds like I'm listening to my brain talk about doing this shit. Like, I legit, it's always in the toilet, no mess, no bullshit. And then I see these fucking savages, or
yeah.
do not see it. I hear about these fucking savages that lay down to do this shit. And I'm like, what the actual fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. So I kind of that's where that came
Oh,
from.
dude.
Yeah.
Seeing that clip had me fucking in tears. I was
It
fucking
is a
laughing so hard.
I don't like to like I don't sit around watching my stuff like on a regular basis, but that's probably the only clip I've repeatedly watched because I remember how much me and Paul couldn't stop laughing. And Paul's
Fuck.
face when I said it was like so organic because he was just like, what the fuck was so it's one of my favorite things to watch.
Dude, it had me fucking in stitches. Like I was fucking sitting there and I was like giggling to myself. My fucking wife's looking at me like I have 9 heads, and she's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "You would not understand. Like, you got no clue." Yeah, like, oh fuck, dude. What you talk about these clips, and that's one that you went back to and watched. How are you doing with this whole TikTok saga? Like, are you promoting on there? Like, it feels like if you don't jump on it, you're fucking left behind.
You are, yeah. I mean, I'm not good at that stuff, like the social media. I mean, in a sense, I'm not good at posting on a regular basis or
Yeah.
any of that. Paul is. Paul does for his. He has a pretty good following on TikTok. I don't. I was posting for a little bit. I just have to be more consistent. I'm actually gonna get Paul to help me tomorrow. Like I feel like I'm 90. I give him the phone and I go, can you just do all that? Because I don't specifically like it, man. I think it's great and I think it's doing wonders for a lot of people. And I support that part of it. But I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to get the motivation personally to do it. It's very sparse. And, again, that's why I think I really wanted to focus on acting and put my energy into that because that's what I ideally want to do. So, hopefully that can go to a place I wanted to where I don't have to do TikTok.
Bro, there is a kid on TikTok eating a corn on the cob and it has 76 million views. Like,
I know, I
dude.
don't. It's a very, very
Oh,
wild world that I don't know anything about. And but yeah, hopefully I don't have to really be on it as much. I
dude,
pray.
I spent hours filming and editing it to make a TikTok, try and promote the podcast, like try and promote comedy, like my type of comedy, the way I talk shit when I'm around people. And it gets like 1,000 views. I made a video of me sitting in a parking lot just filming people try and go into a store that was clearly closed and try and like open the sliding doors, all this shit. 700,000 people watched it. You can fucking post something that takes you hours and hours to film,
Yeah.
edit, and do, and it gets 2 views. And you could post someone kicking a can across the road and it hits 1 million. Like, it doesn't make any fucking
Yeah, it
sense,
doesn't
bro.
make any sense. I was just gonna say, I mean, if you told me what you were gonna do before you did it, I would have said to pick the one of what, there's no point of you trying to like put together something,
Yeah,
yeah. It's
it's
like
fucking
but I
mind-blowing.
mean, hey, look, it's providing a lot of performers money and a career. So,
Really is.
but yeah, people that I know and you probably know as well. So to each is to own, man, I say.
I agree. Well, Dave, I gotta say, like, I appreciate you coming on here and doing this with me. It was awesome to get to know you and hear about all the things you've done in your career so far, and you've took the leap to do it. It's very encouraging, and honestly, it's inspiring. Like, it's stuff that you don't think that would inspire other people. Like, I've started to watch your page and watch what you've done, and seeing that you put there, like, you're a Canadian comic that moved to LA, you did the New York thing, like it's fucking awesome, bro. Like it's so sick to see your career and see the stuff that you've done so far. I'm excited to see it go further. Where can people reach you? Like people, I'm gonna obviously list all the things like the Netflix, the Crave, the Hulu, and your podcast on the bottom of this episode. But where is the main place for people to find your content?
You can find me at like so if you go Dave Merheje, Merheje on Instagram. And I post all my shows there and what I do there. Watch season 3 of Rami that comes out on September 30th. It's on Hulu, but I think it's on in Canada on Stars and Crave. And watch my Crave special that's out right now. But you can go to my Instagram and I have a website, DaveMerheje.com. So
All that
check it out.
stuff will be tagged below, and make sure you get season 1 and 2 under your belt for Rami before season 3 drops. Honestly, dude, it's a pleasure to meet you. Hopefully
Same,
someday
bro.
we cross paths and shit connects for me in the comedy world. But regardless, I wish you all the best and thank you so much for
Same,
your time.
Same, brother. Thank you.
Appreciate you, bro. Peace.